Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. The new screensavers is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost, automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/NSS and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/NSS. And by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/NSS. And by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your house. Go to ring.com/NSS and get $50 off one of their Ring of Security kits, the Bundle Kit, the Pro Kit, with their limited time offer. For the last time, live from the Brick House Studios in beautiful downtown Petaluma, it's the new Screensavers! Welcome to the new Screensavers. Oh my goodness, this is the last new Screensavers from the beautiful Brick House Studios. In fact, as we record this, we're recording ahead of time, the movers have arrived. We're going to start taking stuff out of here. It's almost over for the Brick House Studios. We thought we'd do one last Screensavers episode here. And it's going to be a good one. We've recorded a lot of pieces for you. And in fact, in a little bit, I'm going to get up and we're going to go over and give you the first look at the new Eastside Studios. Coming up on today's show, Padre has a recap on the Intel Developer Forum. He was there. We'll also, in Call for Help, Alex, Lindsay, and I will help Eduardo from Peru. He has one of the, we call them the trash can Mac, those sleek black Mac Pros. But he wants to have Bootcamp on an external drive. Apparently, that's a hard thing to do. I think we found a way to do it. Thank you, Anthony Nielsen. The good folks from Fictiv will join us. We are going to disassemble every Nintendo controller ever made and see how they work, see how they evolved. It's actually pretty cool. And we'll take a visit to an amazing Star Wars collection, a private Star Wars collection right here in Sonoma County. It's the world-famous Rancho Obi-Wan. But first, let's get on out of here and walk out with me, if you will, because I want to tell you what we're going to do tomorrow. So we're going to do another Tech Guy tomorrow on Sunday, and then I'll be getting on a trolley car this way and leaving the old studio. And as we did 5 years ago when we started the new studio, the Brick House Studio, we're going to make that transition between the Tech Guy and This Week in Tech, and we'll do the This Week in Tech show from the round table on Sunday. So that's tomorrow if you're watching live. All right, everybody's getting ready because the movers are starting to come. We're going to head on over to the Eastside Studio. Come on with me. Your bricks will be coming with us. Don't worry, everybody asks me. They're going to have actually a better location, I think, in the new studio. They'll be more obvious. And here's the men in green. They're coming for us. Let's head over to the Eastside Studio. And while we do, I want to show you a fun time I had with Chef J Keni López-Alt's home kitchen. We showed how he cooks with technology. He's the managing culinary director of Serious Eats, and he really knows how to cook. Let's watch this while I go get in my car and we drive over to the Eastside Studio. Okay, come on. Hey, I'm excited about this one. I love to cook, but there's not a lot of technology in cooking, or is there? Joining us right now, Kenji López-Alt. He is the managing culinary director of a website called Serious Eats. You got to see it, SeriousEats.com. The author of this James Beard award-winning cookbook, The Food Lab: Better Home Cooking Through Science. And we're going to cook.
Yeah, we
Kenji,
are. Hey.
Are you a scientist or a cook?
I'm a cook who dabbles in science. I'm a fan of cooking and science, and actually I'm really just a writer.
So we're going to do some traditional cooking stuff, but I see you also have a sous vide going.
We're gonna use basically 4 different tools here, ranging from like the most primitive.
That is the original technology.
Yes. Up to the more advanced stuff, the sous vide circulator and the pressure cooker. And then we'll also go outside and put meat on a fire. So super primitive and much more advanced. But sometimes the primitive stuff is the best. You know, the mortar and pestle, and I've done side-by-side taste tests on this. If you're making a curry paste or a spice blend or something, the flavor that you extract from a mortar and pestle is much better than what you can get out of a food processor. Yeah. When you have a sharp blade of a food processor or a blender, you're kind of sharing them apart, but you aren't completely crushing them, so you don't get as much of that flavor released as you do when you actually just crush them.
Harold McGee taught me that too.
Oh yeah. Right.
So let's grind away.
So we're going to do this Vietnamese style grilled pork chop. So we're starting with some lemongrass.
Beautiful pork chops, lemongrass.
Some fresh lemongrass. This is a little palm sugar. You can also use brown sugar, just a couple tablespoons. Some garlic.
The palm sugar you could find at a Vietnamese
at
store,
an Asian grocery store. Okay. Yeah. Some shallots.
Love shallots.
And then some white peppercorns.
Shallots are nice because they're not quite as strong as onions or garlic, but they give it a lovely tang and flavor.
Yeah, and a little bit of a sweetness.
Yeah.
And so now we want to grind these up. And what I like to do is I like to first pound down that sugar, because the sugar sort of acts as an abrasive to help break down the other ingredients. So if I was going to make like a curry paste, I would continue pounding this until it's totally fine.
Smells fabulous. I wish you could smell this.
But for this purpose, this is pretty good. We have a nice moist paste, and now I'm going to add just some fish sauce to there.
Fish sauce is key in Asian cooking.
And
I think a lot
of
people don't know. Well, first of all, the name turns them off.
Right.
but without it, you wouldn't have a lot of the distinctive flavors of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, but once we cook it and have everything else in there, it kind of blends in. Okay, so now we're just going to marinate these pork chops.
Now normally I think of sous vide as an all-day affair, like 12 hours, but you said this is going to go a little faster.
Yeah, okay, so sous vide, there are a number of different things you can do with it. You can take sort of tough cuts of meat, like say a pork shoulder or ribs, and cook them for 12 hours or 24 hours or even
at very low temperature.
36, 72 hours, exactly. Yeah. You know, 130 degrees, 140 degrees, and you'll break down the connective tissue and tenderize them without losing much moisture. But sous vide is also great for quick cooking things, so like a steak or a chicken breast, or in this case pork chops, because it allows you to very evenly cook it through, so that, you know, when you cook through a more traditional method, you end up with sort of this bullseye pattern where the very center might be medium rare in a steak, but then it gets progressively more cooked.
It's the toughest thing to do, isn't it? And pork chops will really dry out if you overcook them.
Yes, absolutely.
And people don't want rare pork chops, so this is a trick. This is good. All right.
So we're gonna take a couple of these pork chops, stick them in this plastic bag.
Eat this afterwards, or is this this is for your dinner? Okay, good. Because I skipped lunch because I knew. All right.
And we'll do.
Now this is an A Novo, which everybody seems to agree is the sous vide of choice. This is, you use your own pot, and it is a very accurate thermometer that can maintain a very accurate temperature for a long period of time.
So it has an impeller that pulls up water, heats it to a precise temperature, and then spits it back out.
And you've set it for 140 degrees.
140 degrees.
That's pretty hot for sous vide. Or no?
It depends what you're cooking. Okay. 140 degrees for a pork chop is just about medium, maybe slightly under medium.
We want to get the internal temperature of the pork chop to 140 degrees.
Exactly. Okay. And these are thin pork chops, so they're going to take probably 20 minutes or so to get there. Okay. So let's just do 3 right now.
The other thing, of course, when you do sous vide, I'll do anything you need me to do.
Oh, sure,
I'll be your sous chef.
I'll hold this open and just spoon, like, say, let's do half of it in there.
The other thing that, of course, happens is you don't get any browning of the pork chop in the sous vide process. So meat kind of comes out gray, kind of?
Yeah, it comes out very unappetizing. But, so when you pull something out of a sous vide machine, it's technically already cooked. But you won't have any browning at all.
Exactly. But it's just not doesn't look good.
It won't taste great. So with sous vide,
the caramelization of cooking. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So with sous vide, you almost always finish via a very high heat method. So what we're going to do is start these pork chops sous vide, then we're going to finish them on the grill outside to get some color on them.
Where did sous vide come from? It seemed to have suddenly emerged in our awareness, but is it older than just the last decade?
Oh yeah. So it was invented in the 70s in France.
What is that? That's a French word. It means under...
Yeah, sous vide means under vacuum.
Under vacuum. Okay.
Yeah. So it was invented in the 70s in France, and Mainly as a way, the idea was to have consistency in cooked meat and to be able to store meat, like for hotels and things like that.
Restaurants do it a lot too, right?
Exactly.
In fact, they still do it. You may be eating sous vide, you don't know it.
Oh yeah.
Because it looks like a normally cooked steak.
Yeah.
So vacuum, but there's no vacuum. You just
So
put that
what we're
in
doing,
Ziploc.
so what we're doing here is a method called the water displacement method. So you don't really need a strong vacuum to do sous vide. So I could use a vacuum sealer and suck out all the air from here. What we're going to do instead is use water displacement to do it. So you see, I've left this bag open just a little bit, about an inch on this end. So as I lower these pork chops into the bag, the pressure of the water is going to push the air out of the bag. And so all I have to do is kind of push it down. And
you don't want air because it's an insulator? Is that one?
Exactly, because the air will mess up the way it cooks. It's an insulator.
And
so
then once you get it under, then you seal it.
Just before it's about to go under, I seal it.
Now, speaking of chemistry, do we worry about leaching any chemicals out of the plastic?
So, yeah, some people do. And you can buy bags that are specifically made for
I've seen
cooking sous vide.
silicone rubber bags, for instance.
Yeah. There are all different kinds of bags that are specifically made for cooking sous vide. For relatively low temperatures and short cook times like this, I personally don't worry too much because at least the bag manufacturers and the government says it's safe.
So this is the current temperature. It went down immediately.
Yes.
The temperature you're going for is 140, so it's going to pump it up and heat it up to the point.
Exactly.
Now I see Bluetooth on here. Can you control this with your phone?
You can,
as
yeah.
well?
There's an app, so you can control Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Actually.
Oh, that's cool. Do you need a specific sous vide recipe, or can you just apply this to almost any kind of recipe?
You can apply it to almost any kind of recipe. These pork chops we could technically do 100% on the grill.
Yeah.
Sous vide just makes it a little bit more foolproof, so that we know that they're going to be perfectly medium.
That marinade smells fantastic. I can't wait to try that. Now what?
So now we're going to cook a little bit of rice.
15 minutes of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we're going to cook some rice. I like to use the pressure cooker for rice. I'm using it exactly just like a rice cooker. This
looks
is
like
also
a
one
rice
of my
cooker.
most used kitchen tools.
Yeah.
So rice typically in a rice cooker would take about 30 minutes or so.
Right.
In a pressure cooker, it takes about 5.
Oh, I like that.
Some time for it to heat up. Once it's at temperature, about 5 minutes. So total, probably about 10 minutes.
And we're going to do a short grain Japanese rice?
Yeah, Japanese style rice
Nice,
here,
okay.
which is just what I like. It can do any rice. But same basic ratio. About for Japanese rice, it's about 1.1 to 1. 1.1 parts water to 1 part rice.
Shorter grain rice is has more starch in it, so it's a little more sticky, right?
Tends to be stickier. Yeah. Not always, but tends to be stickier.
Right.
Modern multi-cookers, that's what they call them. Multi-cookers. Modern multi-cookers, I think, are one of the best kitchen inventions in the last 10 years.
Well, it's great. I can braise a piece of meat in it, brown it a little bit, then have a slow cooker all day.
Yeah.
And then I'll make the rice afterwards.
Right. No, like those old infomercials where they're like, this one appliance will throw out all of your other appliances. Like this, you literally can throw away your rice cooker, you can throw away your other pressure cooker, you can throw away your slow cooker. Like it really does all that stuff actually really well. One of my favorite gadgets.
Are these done already?
So yeah. Basically, in the time that we spent.
How do you know they're done?
Well, timing, but you can feel them. But timing, with the chop this thin, they're
They
about.
don't look done.
They don't. Well, because
they look raw.
Again, they're not going to get any color until we finish searing them. But they're cooked through. They're cooked through to 140 degrees. With a half-inch thick like this, it takes about 20 minutes or so.
It's amazing. But you definitely there's going to be another step because if you plated those, they're completely safe and I'm sure they're delicious. Nobody's going to eat.
I would argue that they probably aren't even delicious at this point. There's no color on them. There's no browning.
Yeah,
and that's what
that's
really
important, isn't it? The crispy caramelization of the crust.
Yeah, well, it's the Maillard reaction is what it's called.
Maillard.
The browning reaction, and essentially what you're doing is you're breaking down sugars and proteins and sort of recombining them in it's this sort of cascade of chemical reactions, and you create hundreds of new compounds, and that's what.
So you gotta do that.
You do, yeah. That's what makes the complex flavor in browned meat.
Good.
Now,
if you're boiling an egg, you don't. There are things you can sous vide that's the end of it.
That is, yeah. Right. If you can cook an egg sous vide, break it out of the shell, and it's done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can get textures that you never thought imaginable.
Very velvety, yeah. But for meat, you're going to want to do a second step, and we're about to do that, which is bring it out to the grill.
So you want to grab those out? I'll grab the tongs.
And we'll
go
Don't trip,
Leo. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this up with coals. We're going to put this grate on top, and then we're going to cook directly over the...
Make it easy, right.
Yeah, cook directly over the charcoal chimney. You get much higher heat that way. Here, if you want to fill those in, just dump some in.
Yep. Now, I've seen people use blow torches to do this.
I'm going to use a blowtorch to light it, at least.
But you could use that to sear the meat and do all the work, right?
You could, yeah.
You definitely could. Fill it all the way, or?
Yeah. Here, why don't we actually just flip this? Here, let's do this.
already got my hands blackened, so it doesn't really doesn't matter.
There's a sink around the
Yeah, I'm fine.
around the corner there.
I'll just wipe it off on my black shirt, and you'll never know. But there is something about the fire that's a little bit better than a torch, right? You're going to get some smokiness.
Yeah, you know, we actually. So I did this video last month with Adam Savage from MythBusters.
Yeah.
We did it back here, and we shot. So we actually tested searing steaks with a bunch of different methods.
Oh, fun.
Including this method, which was the winning method. This was the best method. We did it over a regular grill. We did it with a torch. We did it like this, and then we did it over this 1600 degree aluminum forge. And it turns out this one is the best.
Adam has an aluminum forge lying around. That's nice. And this is the best flavor.
The best sort of heat level. You know, it's.
Right.
And flavor, yeah. When it gets too hot, the meat ends up like burning before it develops a nice thick crust. Too cool, and you end up overcooking the meat underneath before it can get a good crust. So this is like a nice balance. It gets you really hot, really high heat, but also it's just cool enough that you can get like a nice crispy crust as opposed to just like instantly blackening. Yeah, look at that hot air.
Yeah, it's on a hot day. There's nothing like a hot grill. Why is it we only grill in summer? We should grill in the winter when we can use the heat. Just what I needed. A nice warm grill.
You ready here? We'll do
So how long are you going to put it? Not long, right?
It should probably take about a minute per chop.
Okay.
Maybe less.
Listen to that sizzle. And this isn't going to really penetrate to the middle, so we don't have to worry about a dry pork chop.
Exactly, that's the idea. We just want to brown the outside. It's already cooked through to the middle, so we don't have to really worry about
It's good to do this with pork, because pork is one of the most challenging meats to cook. It tends to get so dry if you overcook it, and you don't want to undercook it because most people don't want pink pork chops.
Exactly. Yeah, pork can get very dry, but yeah, 140 degrees. It's going to be nice. It should be nice and juicy. We'll see. Maybe it won't be.
So we've made the spice blend. We've marinated the pork chop. It wasn't very long either. It was only about 15 minutes, maybe. Not too long.
Yeah.
You could do it longer.
You could do it longer. Yeah. Although marinades, you know, they don't really. There's this myth that they penetrate. Yeah, they don't really penetrate very fast. So whether you do it 15 minutes or a couple hours, it's a minimal difference. But you know.
And also, this is a nice cut. You're not marinating it to break down the cut as you would with a flank steak where you really need to soften it. These are
already nice
going to
and
be
tender.
Delicious. Yeah. And the rice, is it done? Let's see.
It looks done.
So Kenji López-Alt, SeriousEats.com. Go ahead, you take the first bite. I want to see how this looks.
Make sure it's not poison.
It's perfect, and it's not pink. Is it tasty?
Yep.
It looks so tender. Oh my gosh.
Pretty good.
It is so tender. Look at that. And nothing pink inside. All right, I'm gonna have a little bite. And we don't need to salt this because it's so flavorful.
And the fish sauce is there too. Can you interpret for me? We'll be right back with more of the screensavers in a moment. Thank you, Kenji. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, that's good. I gotta try the rice too, though. Oh, look at that. Oh, baby. I might add a little bit.
Ah, you're here. I beat you. That Tesla. Man, that thing is fast. Well, this is it. This is the new studio. It's a little bit of a less charming neighborhood than downtown Petaluma. We're kind of at the north side of Petaluma, just off the freeway, and it's an office park, you know. But I have to say, once you get inside, I think you'll see the charm of it. It's kind of boring from the outside. There'll be a twit sign up here. So this is, I mean, it's unassuming, but once you get inside, I think you'll see it's really kind of cozy. This is the producer's bullpen. They'll be sitting right here. I call it the goldfish bowl because we can peer in and see. Oh, look, there's some producers right there. Oh, hi, producers. Now, what we just is when you come in, just please don't tap on the window. It really bugs them. It's annoying. This is where the editors are going to be. You want to see where Burke is going to be? Come here. This is, we had to figure out, Burke's used to being kind of working in the basement and kind of a hole. So we found a little corner and we boarded up all the windows. And so Burke can work down here and kind of be peaceful and quiet where he is. Office space here. I think this one's Lisa's office right here. Hey, there's Lisa. Hi, Lisa. That's where the boss works. Look at this. So this is the studio. We're going to eventually, I think this is where your bricks will live. We're not sure, but I think this is where all the bricks are going to go. We put a porthole in here because we want to remind people of what it's like. Oh, look, there's Jim. Come here. We got to see this. This is the main studio in here. Jim Hamilton, who's part of the Credence team that built my studio in the first place. Jim also did that beautiful woodwork behind me in my office to duplicate the old office. He's going to put the gear in place. This is solid cast iron. This thing, I don't know how, it weighs a ton.
At least a ton.
At least a ton.
Maybe 20 tons.
And you're going to get a crane and lift that into place, and it's going to be right there behind the. This is where the round table set will be. You may remember this part from the old studio. Go ahead and just how are you going to get that in there? Is it going to be tough? Or?
We'll move it around and then get the crane in place, but we'll kind of tip it out here so the crane can grab it.
Yeah, and just lift it right up. And what? Wait till we get a crane. I don't want. It's going to go right here. So that means, I guess, the table. Yeah, if I look at the lights up here, the round table, and this is, by the way, this is tomorrow. It's tomorrow. We're going to, tomorrow? Jim's the greatest. We're going to put the table right here. Brand new table we're making. It'll be right here. Hey, before we go on, I want to tell you a little bit about Wealthfront. How did we build this incredible studio? By saving money. If you're saving money for long-term, maybe a retirement fund or the kids' college or the grandkids' college, you ought to know about Wealthfront. Wealthfront solves the problem of how do you invest for the long haul and still manage to keep your investment growing without constant attention. You could pay an advisor 1%, 2%, 3% a year of what you have under investment, or you could pay 1/4% to Wealthfront. It's a computer, so it works cheap. Wealthfront takes the best science, the Nobel Prize-winning economic research from the best minds like Burton Malkiel, the Random Walk Down Wall Street, Charles D. Ellis, the Investor's Guide, and puts it into the software. And the thing is, it's monitoring you constantly. Not just once a quarter, it doesn't rebalance every month, it's constantly monitoring to make sure your investments are diversified, the risk level is something you're comfortable with, and that you're tax loss harvesting to minimize your tax bill while increasing your return. It really works, but I want you to check it out before you do anything else. Go to wealthfront.com/NSS. That's wealthfront.com/NSS. And if you go there right now, you can take advantage of some free things. They'll generate a free portfolio for you. The portfolio they'd be investing with to start with, based on your, just a few answers to a few simple questions. Risk tolerance and your time frame and things like that. They'll also, if you want, take a look at your existing portfolio and figure out where you're spending money too much on fees, maybe where you're not fully diversified, where you need rebalancing. It's a great health checkup. That's free. Wealthfront.com/NSS. If you decide to invest, the minimum investment is $500, and you can get the first $15,000 of your investment completely fee-free forever. I love it. Wealthfront.com/NSS. If you're saving, and you should be, check it out. It's a great way to save for your future. The Intel Developers Forum happened this week in San Francisco. We sent Father Robert Ballecer down there, the digital Jesuit. Here's his report.
Thanks, Leo. We're here at the Intel Developer Forum at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California. Now, this show has to be a lot different than what I saw last year. Last year was an interesting show with a lot of embedded devices, a couple of manufacturers coming out to show us the latest and greatest that they've designed with Intel pieces. This year, we've seen themes around security, the Internet of Things, and the Maker. Now, in security, there's a company here called Bromium that I think you'd like. They're using micro VMs. These spin up in under 15 milliseconds, and they allow you to put your browser or your application into a container that's completely safe. In other words, if you're worried about that attachment that you received, or if there's a website that you want to visit but you're not quite sure if they're going to try to own your device, you can now put that into a VM, which if it gets owned, if it gets destroyed, doesn't affect the rest of your system. This will work on your laptop, on your desktop, on your network computer, on your cloud-based computer. It's really one of the more security-focused centric moves of IDF 2016. The other big thing that I've seen is Internet of Things. They're getting serious about adding security into the IoT. We now have devices that can use certificates to communicate securely so you don't get a man-in-the-middle attack. What this means is that enterprises can now safely deploy Internet of Things probes. For example, in a gas field or on a water main or pretty much anywhere that you would want to gather data, and you can be relatively assured that the data you get is real, not messed with, and not compromised. But of course, I'm a maker, so really I've loved the maker booths here. Everything from Kingston showing us off the fastest SSD currently on the planet, a 7 gigabyte per second monster, to Intel showing us their new Joule modules that allow me to equip an embedded device with their RealSense camera. So for example, if I wanted to make a robot that could find out whether or not my shelves are stocked, I can do that. If I want to make another device that can do real-time counting of people coming in, I can do that. It's really one of the things that they've done at IDF that I really appreciate, being forward-looking and forward-focused. Now, in all, IDF 2016 isn't just about Intel vendors, and it's not just about technology. It's about the changing landscape of the IT world in which we live. Everything is connected, everything communicates, and everything needs to be secured. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer, the digital Jesuit, host of This Week in Enterprise Tech and Know-How on the TWiT TV network, sending it back to the studio and the new screensavers.
All right, so we're back in the main studio. I know it seems like maybe it's a little bit smaller, and if you've been watching the camera that we've had, watch the build, it probably feels small because that's a very wide angle. But actually, this is pretty much the same size as our old studio. This round table set will be right here, but this angle is going to be for TNT. So we rotate the table, and Tech News Today will be there. We'll have bricks, and there's stuff still to go up on the wall there. Over here is to your right, Anthony. And by the way, thanks to Anthony Nielsen. He's doing a bang-up job of hand-holding this. This is going to be a clock. Remember, I like clocks a lot. We always had clocks on the set. This is going to be an interesting kind of window and a clock. One of the problems with our old set was it was real windows, and so you had real daylight, and it made it very difficult for us to shoot in light. So this set has no actual daylight. But then you don't want it to feel like a sealed-in box, so what we're going to do is have these faux kind of windows, these cutouts here with the TWiT gear, this clock here, and this window out to the hall. These will be set up in such a way it'll feel like daylight, it'll feel like lights going on outside, but we won't have to worry about people walking by, peering in, and the difficulty to light it. So let's continue on. We're going to do a call for help. Now, this actually was a call for help we recorded last week when Alex Lindsay with us. We got a great call from Eduardo in Peru. We saved it for you for this particular episode of the New Screensavers. Take a look. This is a fun one. All the way from Lima, Peru, Eduardo is on the line. Hello, Eduardo.
Hey there. Hi, Leo, Alex. I'm a long-time subscriber, almost 10 years ago.
Oh, nice. Well, I was in Lima about 4 years ago. Loved it. We were on our way up to Machu Picchu. I just love your country. And by the way, Peruvian food is the best food in South America. It is amazing. And in fact, we just got a Peruvian restaurant down the street.
Oh, really?
You know that? Yeah. Yeah. So I am thrilled to talk to you. What can we do for you, Eduardo?
A few days ago, I bought a Mac Pro.
No, you didn't buy that, the trash can Mac, the black Mac? You bought that?
Yep.
What are you, nuts?
I need it for work.
Oh, okay. All right. They haven't updated that since it came out 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's very pretty. You must be are you a designer?
I'm an architect. I work in 3D.
Okay.
And what software do you use?
I use 3D Max.
Okay.
Nice.
So I don't have 3D Max on a Mac version, so I need to install in Windows. And I need all the resources of the machine in order to render and stuff.
So you're not going to use VM for this. You definitely want to use a Bootcamp and make it be a Windows machine.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the problem is that it comes with 256 gigs of SSD.
Yeah.
And that's too little.
I think Apple's intention with the trash can Mac, which is kind of ironic because it is a beautiful icon, but their intention was that you add Thunderbolt drives.
Which is pretty much what we do. We have like 3 of them sitting in my office.
Yeah, they look like spiders with all these things around, which kind of takes away some of the beauty of it. But it does allow you to easily add capacity and so forth. And it's really the only way you can upgrade. The only upgrade you can make in that is memory. That's the only thing you have access to, unless you hack the thing. So with 256 gig, Windows only takes maybe 15 to 20 gigs to install, so you could probably move.
But the rendering and everything else that you need for your internal capacity is the real issue, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
And the temporary files, all the memory that it needs in the C drive.
Right.
How much storage do you think you need?
At least 150 gigs.
Okay.
Right.
Because
what happens is that
all the drive.
Because these aren't the actual rendered files. These are just the work files that Max uses. So what happens is that you have Max is like many other 3D programs. It has to save a lot of data. This is just for people to understand that it's got to have it right where the app is, and it's going to save all that data. And that can be lighting information, that can be geometry information, texture information, in the format that it needs to render as fast as it can. Now, as soon as it's done rendering all those frames, it throws that all away, or you can save it as a cache. But that's the problem, is that internal drive becomes a real, very, very small.
So, I haven't tried this. You can't use Bootcamp to use a Thunderbolt drive, an external drive, as the storage drive?
But that would be a D drive, right?
It's not seeing. It's not seeing the external drive.
Even if you use it in Bootcamp, whatever drive, if you boot from the external drive, that's going to be your C drive. But you're saying Bootcamp doesn't see a Thunderbolt drive.
Doesn't see it.
What the what? Again, another reason no one should ever buy this Macintosh. I was very disappointed with it. And frankly, they eclipsed it almost immediately with a 5K iMac. And I'm not sure how the trash can Mac Pro is any better than an iMac.
We have a handful of uses that we need it for, for what we're doing.
Because of the Xeons?
Well, there's certain rendering engines that we use that really only work on that. So
and it's got dual graphics cards, but which were pretty high end
when they came out.
When they came out 2.5 years ago.
Right.
Not state of the art by any means.
But now our day-to-day stuff, most of it's all iMac, and then we have to use those for specific renders. So and our stuff is very high. Similar to the stuff that you're doing.
So Anthony, I think, was it Anthony found this? Anthony did some research, went to some Reddit subreddits on this, and found a program called WinClone that I think will fix your problem. So this is an interesting utility. It is designed specifically for Macintoshes. It comes from Two Canoes. It's designed specifically for Macintoshes to clone a Bootcamp install. So if you were going to use, the way you would use WinClone is you would install Bootcamp on your internal drive. That's apparently the only way you can do it on that machine. But then you could use WinClone to clone it to an external Thunderbolt drive, have as much space as you want, and it would then boot from that Thunderbolt drive. In fact, here's some examples on the Two Canoes site for exactly. Now, I haven't tried this. I don't think anybody here has tried it. I should probably. I'm not really doing much with my Mac Pro. Of course, you have to have an EFI, a UEFI install, but you will if you use Bootcamp and install on the internal drive. But all the details are here. This is an inexpensive program that does exactly one thing, and the one thing you want, which is take a working Bootcamp image from your internal drive and move it to your external drive. And then, of course, you just hold down the Option key when you boot. I presume the Mac Pro, I can't think of any reason why I wouldn't, will boot from a Thunderbolt drive, right? It's just Bootcamps can't see the Thunderbolt drive. Yeah. So this should solve that. Yeah. They have a free basic version that you could try just to see if it's going to do what you want. It comes from twocanoe.com. Actually, it's not quite free, but it's only $20. And you're only going to use this once. So I don't think you have to worry too much about sharing WinClone images over networks or packaged-based Bootcamp image deployment. That's for big installs. You're just going to do this for yourself. So the $20 version should be plenty.
That's great. I think.
So what do you do? So you're an architect, but you use 3D Studio Max.
Yeah, I work in 3DVs, architectural visualization. It's called. Any client gives me some plans, and I deliver videos or images. of the project, and so
So like a
you can
pre-visualization.
Yeah, so we've actually done a fair bit of this. We use Cinema 4D for a lot of the stuff that we do from that process, but Max can be easier because it's all really tied into AutoCAD.
So when
And
my
so
college
it's-
roommate was in architecture school, he built everything with foam core and razor blades,
cute.
and he taped it together, and he'd build these models. It was a lot of work. You're saying they don't do that anymore?
The old ones do.
They build it in the computer. Oh, that's nice.
Also, you can try color comparing colors if you like.
Sure.
Or
Put
different
furniture in there.
materials.
Yeah.
Well, and you can do whole fly-throughs, right? I mean, so you can.
That's
Yeah,
so
you
much
can-
better.
So you can really get a sense of it. Do you have the little green screen folks that you can put in there walking around while you're flying through? Yeah, exactly. And then, now what do you, here's a question for you. What are you using for your foliage?
I have a library that I bought from Evermotion, and also I use it's a plugin that RPC. That you have the trees, but those are not that great quality. I prefer for close-ups. I prefer Evermotion. That's a lot of models that you have. You can choose. You can change color. It's in 3D. Of course, they take a lot of space and data, but
some of these foliage simulators, I think, are really fascinating because they really add a
leaves
lot.
will blow
Oh,
in the
everything's it's all
wind
there, and it's pretty cool.
The chat room's also pointing out that you can go to somewhere like Otherworld Computing, MacSales.com, and buy a new internal drive. Apparently, you can upgrade the internal drive in the Mac Pro. They sell them as big as 4 terabytes. So if you wanted to keep it all internal, I guess you could. I did the same thing as you. I kind of bought the base level Mac Pro with the kind of small internal hard drive. In those days, 256 gig SSD, that was expensive, right?
Right.
I think I spent almost $4,000 on my Mac Pro. Makes a very expensive but lovely doorstop.
Well, I know we use, for a lot of our Linux machines, we're constantly swapping drives. So we have, a build for one thing that Linux
Thunderbolt
machine may
makes
do,
sense.
and then we just
Yeah.
swap it out and have it, serve a whole
Thunderbolt,
other use.
it's only Thunderbolt 2, Thunderbolt 3 is out now, but that's fast enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's almost as good as, or in fact, probably as good as an internal drive. Hey, it's really nice to meet you, Eduardo. I'm so glad you have been subscribing for all this time in Peru.
thanks. This was really a pleasure for me to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks a
And
lot.
Good luck. Let us know how that works, okay? So we can report back. I appreciate it.
I'll let you know.
Thanks, Eduardo. Take care. We're still in the main studio here in this very special edition of the Screensavers. We don't really have access to the old studio anymore, so we thought we'd do this in the new studio, but it's not done yet, so we're doing kind of a different version of the new Screensavers, giving you a chance to see the new studio before it's done. As I mentioned, this is part of the old studio that we took out here. It used to be behind me in the roundtable set. And the reason there's such a long gap, it seems like we're wasting space, but one of the things you really need in a studio is a sense of depth. I hate it when in the studio you're right up against a wall like this. It just loses all its dimensionality. So we've designed this to have kind of long distances, and of course we're going to be able to have the gear up there. I'm really excited about that. This was such a beautiful work of art. We've actually got 2 of them, because this was the one that was facing to the entryway in the old Twit brick house, and then there's a duplicate on the other side. I just love this. This is one of my favorite parts. In fact, to me, this is kind of our corporate logo. This is our Twit logo. Hey, let me tell you a little bit about one of our sponsors before we go on. Rocket Mortgage. Now, if you are watching this show, you're technically literate, you're savvy, you're sophisticated. The last thing you want to do is take a trip back to the 19th century. Visit Bob Cratchit. Please, sir, can I have a home loan, with your pile of papers and his quill pen scratching on. You want to enter the 21st century. You want to get a mortgage or a refi online, and that's what Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans is all about. Quicken Loans designed this for you, the 21st century techno enthusiast, because you can do it all online. Better than that, you can do it without getting up from the couch. You can do it on your iPad, on your phone even, and instead of bringing piles of papers into your mortgage broker, you just send them with a touch of a button, your pay stub, your tax forms, everything you need to get a great home loan. And because Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage are using the state-of-the-art technology, they can custom tailor a loan specifically for your exact financial situation. So that's pretty cool. I want you to check it out right now. Rocket Mortgage is at quickenloans.com/NSS. Quickenloans.com/NSS. And you'll see how cool it is to be able to do the whole thing entirely online, whether it's a new loan or a refi, or you just want to get pre-qualified before you go house hunting. Don't forget, Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. That's quickenloans.com/NSS. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support of this, of all of this. It ain't cheap, let me tell you. Fortunately, we were able to reuse a lot of what we had done in the old studio, and that does save us a lot of money. We spent about $1.25 million to build the old studio. We're spending about $500,000 to $600,000 to build a new studio, half as much. And you can see we're reusing the lighting rig, we're reusing all the lights, we're using a lot of the set pieces. But I think this is going to be, in some ways, a more functional place. I look forward to it. And by the way, I know a lot of you are wondering, can we come watch? You absolutely can. Same exact situation. Email tickets at twit.tv. There's plenty of room here for a studio audience. You see, we'll be able to fill this area with chairs when we do Twit. Over here is where we'll be doing iOS Today and Triangulation. Same situation. In fact, in some ways, it's a better situation for the audience. There's more places for you to sit. TNT, same thing. And, well, I'll tell you what, when we come back, I'll show you Radio Corner and the heart of the operation, what is behind me right now, the TD desk, we call it. That was the old thing that rotated around. We've had the folks from Fictiv on before. You probably remember them. Their business model to help startups fabricate products, and part of that is understanding how products you already buy are built. So when they took apart every Nintendo controller ever made, we had to have them on. Here's one of their engineers, Jackie Liao, and I, with all 6 Nintendo controllers. It's actually cool how they work in a million pieces. Watch. The folks from Fictiv have been here before, but they're back. Joining us right now, Jackie Liao. He's an engineer at Fictiv. What is Fictiv?
So Fictiv, we are a hardware development platform for designers and engineers. And what we do is we provide access to tools and service to enable more efficient manufacturing. And so what that means is an extension of our tools, we've been taking apart things in our teardown series and just to understand how things work.
Well, that's how I know you guys. You're the guys who take stuff apart. And today, this is fun. If anybody grew up in the Nintendo era, and that's probably anybody younger than me, you've seen one or more of these Nintendo controllers. You actually said, we're going to take apart every one of them. Actually, you didn't take them apart. Who took them apart?
Dave Evans, my colleague, he had the pleasure of taking it apart.
So we'll start with the from oldest to newest, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is a NES era, 1983.
Yeah, so everybody will recognize the silk-screened front. So it's not very complicated. In fact, if we look at what's in here, tell me what's in here. Is this the circuit board?
Yeah, that's the PCB. So what we have here is just a simple 8-bit shift register. And if you count the number of buttons, there's 8 buttons.
Oh, man.
Right? So each bit corresponds to a button press or not button press. So very, very simple.
And this is just the back. There's nothing in here.
Yeah, right? So it's a simple injection molded piece for the housing. And my favorite part, check this out. This pretty front piece is actually a vinyl. So,
it's not silk screen.
No, so check this out. You just peel it right off.
Now we've destroyed it. And then these things just pop up. These are actually the interface, right? It's just a rubber. Oh no, and then there's a rubber. There's a button that goes on top of the rubber. So when you push the button down, it's pretty simple. It just makes contact. And are the contacts on the back here? Yeah,
actually, so this is actually, let me grab one of these.
Okay.
Button pieces. This is a 2-part molded rubber piece where the soft part is rubber, and then there's an actual conductive material on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I always wondered that. So, because I knew this was rubber, so there is conductive material on the back that closes the circuit on here.
Right.
On the circuit board, and all of this isn't doing much. This is just, what's the shift register do?
Shift register, it's a series of flip-flops, allows us to detect kind of...
Just a button press.
It's a button press, right.
And that send a signal down.
Right, correct.
All right, so we're going to get a little fancier. We're going to go to a Super NES, and the Super controller is right here in front of us. Again, something people would recognize. And has it gotten more complicated?
Yeah, so we fast forward about 6 years.
Yeah.
And you really notice that they're starting to take into account how this thing is being held, right?
Okay,
so,
yeah, it's much more. This was just square. This is at least a little more ergonomic.
Right, a little bit more ergonomic. Yeah. And you see they've added another dimension. You see there's these bumper buttons.
Right.
And these bumper buttons, really, really awesome mechanism. If you take a look here, it's 3 parts. It's the injection molded plastic piece.
That goes in, presses the rubber switch there.
Right, and then there's this. Notice this this pin, this metal
hinge.
pin.
Yeah.
So allows us to kind of swivel, and you can access this button from many positions.
Oh
in
yeah,
case you're
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all going to do the same switch. So you left the circuit board in here so we can't see the other side where the contacts would be, but it'd be very much like the older controller, right?
Exactly.
The buttons get pushed down.
It's also a shift register.
Not much to it, not a lot of circuitry. It's really still just switches that get pushed and then the signal gets sent down the line.
Right, so another dimension that was incorporated into this design is they thought a lot about serviceability.
Right.
So we have this connector, and you can imagine, kids are tugging and pulling, and something's bound to break. So they designed this such that if you flip it over, right here, this is a living hinge. So you can actually pop this out and service the connectors if you wanted to.
So these connectors could just simply be replaced.
Right, exactly.
No soldering involved for the technician. Yeah. All right, let's move along. What's this? This is the N64?
Nintendo 64. We got the Pikachu yellow. You guys remember that? So they added another dimension to the front, which is the joystick mechanism.
Yeah. So this is now more complicated because this is how many switches are in the joystick?
In the joystick, it's actually
is it just like a 8-position joystick, or is it pots? Is it going to sense the exact positioning of it?
So we can talk about pots in the next iteration, but this is actually it detects X and Y movement through an encoder, an optical encoder.
Oh, interesting. So this is like an optical mouse, early version of an optical mouse.
Early version, and so the big complaint from customers about this was that it wasn't actually the encoder itself, but it was the plastic housing that that houses the gears and which it swivels on, and so that was all.
Whoa!
Ooh, yeah,
that's really cool. So people complained because this was become inaccurate over time.
Yeah. Or? So these gears in which it kind of rotates.
The teeth are just soft plastic.
Yeah. It's unlubricated plastic. And so if you want to contrast with the previous model in the bumper design, we see that the bumper design was composed of 3 parts.
Yeah.
You look here.
Still have a bumper.
They kind of took it to the next step where they've integrated the metal pin. Now it's plastic. It's all injection molded into one part.
But where they saved money on stuff like that, they got a little more fancy in the circuitry. This is a lot more than a shift register on here, right? That looks like a microprocessor, is it?
Yep, so it's the first integration of the microcontroller in the Nintendo controller series. And so you can do a lot more stuff, you can...
A lot more contacts, too. Look at that. This is a lot more complicated to make, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so
definitely is it less robust because of that?
It does get through a lot of wear and tear, but the principle is still reliant on these mechanical buttons, and you're using the microcontroller to just process that.
Right. Now let's move to the GameCube.
Yeah, so we started with just buttons, and now we have bumpers and a joystick. We go to the GameCube, extra level of dimension, which is this. Check this.
That is complicated. What is this thing doing?
This is
looks like a motor.
Yeah, it's for haptic feedback.
Oh, it is a motor. So that's buzzing.
It's that rumble pack.
Yeah. So they charge this, it rotates, and it's got weights in it or something that are unevenly weighted, like your washing machine when your sneakers are in it, and it, and it vibrates a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that's cool. Look at that. This is the heaviest piece in the whole thing. This thing weighs quite a bit, but it's got to, otherwise you wouldn't feel it.
You wouldn't feel it.
Yeah. It'd be a flutter, not a rumble.
Yeah.
Look at all the pieces, and boy, we really are getting more complicated with the circuitry here. The microprocessor's a lot smaller than the earlier microprocessor, but probably does more. Sure looks like there's more solders on here. Are these hand soldered or are they machine soldered?
No, they're automated through machines.
It's all automated, but it is a solder, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
And on the back, it's also more complicated back here.
What does this look familiar? What do you think this is?
What is that? This also looks like some kind of motor, or it's a switch, huh? Oh, it's a joystick switch. Look at that. And now this is more than 8 axes, isn't it? This is a pod.
No, so it's the same. It's the same direction. But
Okay.
the cool thing is, instead of encoder now, they learn their feedback from the customers and
They
just,
don't have those gears.
No, they don't have the gears. So this is
It's not optical anymore.
yeah, this is a pot. This is potentiometer based,
Okay.
and so it's based on a variable resistor. That's how
Right.
we detect position. You take the second derivative to get acceleration. So it's pretty. Now there's a
Much more robust. It's digital instead of physical, basically.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
So a potentiometer, basically changes the value of the current as you move it. Is that kind of what's going on? with it?
So it's a V equals IR. So it's a variable resistor. So you
Right.
put in a set amount of.
So you change the resistance as you're moving this.
Right, correct.
Yeah, but it will change ultimately the amount of current.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Wiimote where it requires a strap.
Yeah, why? Because otherwise you're going to get this when you throw it, and your TV may end up looking like that.
Right.
All right.
So this board houses the Bluetooth chip, IR sensor, gyroscope, accelerometer. It's a lot of stuff.
So that's how you know. That's how they know as you're moving it around. There's a gyroscope and an accelerometer in here.
Yep.
What year is the Wii come out?
The Wii came out in 2006, I believe.
Okay, so they weren't yet benefiting from smartphone development. This is pre Apple's iPhone.
Absolutely. So you also have a speaker. That's the extra dimension of feedback. You know, you're not going to pump bass through this, but you're going to get that instant gratification of sound.
Yeah. So like a baseball bat hitting a ball or something
A bowling
like that.
ball.
Yeah.
And
it looks like there's a mouse trap on here.
Yeah. So these terminals right here, they're
Yeah.
to house the battery.
Batteries. That's it, the spring holder for the battery. I get it. We come to the present day, and now this is a computer. This is a tablet computer. This is the Wii U controller.
This is the
Look at
Rolls
that.
Royce of controllers.
Well, just go to the logic board. I mean, this looks like the logic board you could see in an iPad practically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned iPad because there's a screen on this, and the iPad was first released in 2010, and so this came out 6 years after the regular Wii, right? So
Right.
2012. So it kind of correlates with that screen craze.
Right.
Hey, let's put a screen on everything.
Right.
So
A kind of, it's not a very good tablet, it's not a very good screen, but we'll kind of give them a tablet in the new controller.
it's got a camera, a front-facing camera.
Again, not very good, but it's for kids. What do you want, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Where's the camera module? Can you find it?
okay,
What do
it's
we
right
do
here.
with
Here
it?
we go.
Oh, it's on there. It's
Yeah.
on the logic board. Okay.
It's on the
there it
logic
is,
board
yeah.
itself, integrated into itself. So you just count the number of components. We went from something that was an 8-bit shift register to something that looks like a computer.
It's a computer, and it's got its own LEDs now. You can see these LEDs on the board, so it can make its own lights. This is the first one with LEDs, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't see them on any of the other ones. But LEDs got to be cheaper and more widely available. Look at all the circuitry on this.
So I mean, it was really highlights that if just because you can and just because you can't put all these components in doesn't mean you have to.
Compare the logic board. In fact, you almost don't even want to call it a logic board with the original Nintendo Entertainment System controller, the NES controller, to the Wii U controller from almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
Jackie Liao is an engineer at Fictiv. They build stuff, but sometimes in order to build, one must destroy first. And we love it when you come by and bring us. Now, should we make sure that this is all put back together
No,
again
it's
before
your job
you
to
leave?
put it back together.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I got any glue? Just a hot glue gun. That's probably all I
Zip
need.
ties and duct tape. That's what we work with.
Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate it. If you want to learn more about the teardown, you can find out more at their website, blog.fictiv, Fictiv.com. All right, you ready to see the TD desk? This is really still very much a work in progress. One of the things that's not apparent when you're in here is that we're not on a regular floor. This building, unlike the original brick house, is on a slab, a cement concrete slab. The brick house, of course, had that amazing basement. And we were able to use that to good advantage at the brick house because we could drill holes in the floor and put all the noisy, hot equipment down below us and put holes up in the floor. Well, we can't do that here because it's a concrete slab. Initially, we thought of just trenching out the slab. Turned out that was a fairly expensive thing to do. I think we were quoted $18,000. For a little bit more, $25,000, we've actually put in an aluminum raised floor. So you can't tell because it's carpeted, but these carpets are only attached with kind of a sticky note glue. We can pull up the carpet tiles, we can go underneath, and that's what allows us to have wiring come up here in these ports. And if we want to rewire, we can move it all around. We wanted to make sure that we want to stay here for 10 years. So we wanted to make sure that these sets, everything would be movable so we could get around. And that's how this is. So you probably can't see it, but this is a slight ramp. The floor is about 2 inches up, so there's a slight ramp going up. The only way you can really tell, oh, here's the floor itself. We saved a little piece. So that's right here with a carpet on it, and you can see that's why this is at that height. And underneath are channels so we can run wiring, but we can reconfigure it in any way we want just by pulling up the carpet and pulling out these. It's kind of like Legos. They're not really attached. This is a really cool floor from Free Axes, AXES with a Z. It's the grid system, GRIDD. So watch your step when you come up here to the technical director's desk. We had this purpose built just for them. This is beautiful. They're much nicer furniture than they used to have. It doesn't rotate, but it doesn't have to because the technical director can see everything here she wants to see from back here. There's a step up, watch there. And they can see the whole studio from here, so there's no need to rotate. We're able to give them kind of a eagle eye view of everything. Notice it's bigger than the old TD's desk. The TD will be sitting here, but there's room on the desk for a producer and even Lisa, our executive producer, if she wants to sit in. So there's enough room for 3 people here. And I think this is where Heather, the phone ranger, and Kim, our call screeners for the radio show, I think they'll be in here. There will be cameras trained on them and lights trained on them, so it's not like I won't be able to see them, but we won't have direct eye contact, though I'll have to look at the cameras to see them. There's a lot of wiring is going to have to go on here, and I'll show you where that wiring is going to go in just a second. But first, let's take a look at a really cool project Bryan Burnett put together. He's one of the hosts of Know How, great maker. Bryan wanted to make an Arduino-powered LED picture frame, and you know what? He did it. Watch.
Bryan Burnett here, host of Know How, and I'm going to show you how to do an easy LED Arduino art project. Now, of course, you're going to need to start with an Arduino. I'm using a Nano, but you can use a full-sized one. That would be fine. And, of course, you're going to need some LEDs. I'm using 5-volt WS2812 waterproof LEDs. Now you can find an Arduino on Amazon for about $8, and you can find the WS2812 LEDs for around $35 on Amazon. You're going to want a shadow box because that gives you enough room to fit the LEDs inside. And then get yourself some art. One of my favorite artists is Nord Vogel, a good friend of mine, and something about his shark painting inspired me to do this project. The software you're going to want to download is the Arduino IDE. Download it for the OS that you're using, and when you first open it, it's going to look something like this. You're going to want to go down to select the board. I'm using the Nano, and then you can go down to the port, and if you have it plugged in via USB, it should pop up there. The next thing you're going to need to do is add the Fast LED library. Now, since I already added it, it's at the bottom down there, but go to Manage Library, and in the Library Manager, just type in Fast LED. It should pop up. You can install the library, and that will give you the code that you need to get this project started. Now, I found and modified some code from a website called Tweaking for All. The LED strip effect with the fade in, fade out is just the code I was looking for, but I wanted to change the colors from the default to teal, white, and blue. So with a little copying and pasting and a little bit of modification, I was able to get the look that I wanted. Now I changed the number of LEDs to 37 because that's how many I have measured out for this picture frame, and the data is going over pin 7. Those are the only couple things I had to change, and then as far as the fade in, fade out, I changed the hex number of the color to match what I wanted. Next, you're going to want to take the LED ground and solder it to the ground on the Arduino, the 5 volts to the 5 volts on the Arduino, and then the data pin, like I showed in the code, is connected to D7. Next, you're going to want to hit the reset button and upload your code to the Arduino. If you did everything correctly, your LEDs should pop on, and if it has the desired effect, it's time to get started with placing the LEDs in the picture frame. So measure out with how far you want your LEDs to go. I took the LEDs and just put them around the edge of the picture frame, measured it out, counted the LEDs after that, and I was left with 37. After that, I taped it to the edges of the picture frame, and I've got plenty of space for the LEDs. They're hidden away from behind the white border there. And before you put your art in there, you're definitely going to want to make sure that the glass is clean. You don't want to find any smudges after you put the painting in there. And just flip it around. Place your art gently into the slot. I'm going to use some more Scotch tape just to tape the Arduino board to the back of the frame here. You might notice that I have a little breakout wire there. That's in case I want to add a battery, but we'll save that for a future project. Next, you can hook your project in via USB, or if you have a socket to USB, you can plug it in and then you've got yourself some cool LED wall art. For more projects like this, check out Know How with Father Robert Ballecer and me.
Thank you, Bryan. This is actually, I should show Bryan where he and Padre will be. This is what we're going to call Radio Corner. You know, a lot of the sets that you'll see in the show will look exactly like they used to, and this one more than any other. This is going to have the old Collins AM transmitter, that desk that was behind us with all my ham gear. By the way, I don't know if you knew this, that's a postal sorting desk. It has a little stool on it and slots for all the mail. Now, the one thing missing is there won't be a window here anymore. Remember, this was the window out onto Keller Street when we always had to draw the curtains. This is going to have something exciting and interesting, and I don't know what it is. I think a brick wall, and I don't know. There'll be things here, but this is the Radio Corner. It is still a corner, and this is where Know How will happen. And as I mentioned before, that's how you know, is because there's a hole in the floor there. Hey, Star Wars junkies, you know, this is where kind of the home of Star Wars. We're in Northern California, just down the road a piece, Lucas Valley Road, where George Lucas built his amazing, they call it the Ranch, his studio where much of Star Wars is produced. All the audio is done, a big screening room there and stuff. But it's not the only thing that's a heaven, a mecca for Star Wars fanatics in this area. There's also Rancho Obi-Wan, a private museum of Star Wars collectibles. We just had to send Father Robert down there to do this piece.
Not too long ago, at a place not that far from the Twit Brick House, there exists a campus, a collection of hopes, dreams, and imaginations of all things Star Wars. I'm here at Rancho Obi-Wan with the CEO of the ranch, Mr. Steve Sansweet. Thank you very much for talking to us.
My pleasure, neighbor.
Now, this is just a small bit, a small piece of your collection. How long has it taken you to collect everything that's in here?
Well, you know, Star Wars just celebrated its 39th anniversary, but I've been collecting for over 40 years, since before Star Wars even came out. This is the Guinness World Record largest collection of Star Wars memorabilia. We have over 350,000 different pieces.
I have to ask, why? Why create this? I mean, this takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and this is not a hobby. This is a passion, an overriding obsession. Why create something like Rancho Obi-Wan?
I was obsessed with Star Wars. I grew up reading science fiction, collecting space toys, and then Star Wars came out in 1977. I saw it 2 weeks before it opened on the back lot of 20th Century Fox. It was an invitation for journalists, and I just loved it. And then Empire Strikes Back 3 years later just cemented the deal. And I started collecting all this stuff, and who knew?
And this is where it ended up. Now, looking through the collection, what I really like is this is truly a enthusiast collection, because you have something from every movie, from every animated series, from every book, fan fiction. Essentially, if it's Star Wars, you want it here.
What the thing is about Star Wars that's different than any other franchise is the fan impact on Star Wars. I mean, Lucasfilm has always been really a part of that in encouraging fans to take part, and fans themselves have brought so much of themselves, have been inspired creatively to do things, and a lot of that we have here.
Indeed. You did work for Lucasfilm for
Lucasfilm
15
for
years.
15 years as head of fan relations. And Lucasfilm has a history going back to 1976, a year before the movie came out, that really involves Star Wars fans. And so, I mean, it was amazing to be able to take up that history and restart it and carry it along as it's been now.
Now, you've got some beautiful big things, including, I love this, the Winnebago from Spaceballs.
The Winnebago from Spaceballs.
But this has me particularly interested because this is an actual piece of the movie. If you watch Star Wars, the original, this was the scenery that was passing by.
So these are parts of the Death Star from Star Wars and from Return of the Jedi. The flat pieces, the trench pieces, and even hand-painted cardboard gun towers, because there'd be little spaces that were left and they wanted to fill everything. Not that you would see them on film, but that's the fun of motion
The fun
pictures.
part of this is if someone would look at this, like if you're looking at that exhaust port, you're thinking, that doesn't look very good. I don't remember that from the movie, but I mean, if you put this into a large area and you run through it with a camera on a truck, it all blurs together and it looks very real.
Which is exactly how they did it, yes.
I have to ask, what in this entire collection is your favorite piece? What is the one thing that you would take with you if you could only take one item?
I think the piece that's my favorite is a canvas banner that was hand-painted in 1976 when Lucasfilm first went to comic shows and science fiction shows and talked about Star Wars. And the centerpiece of that is a triangle of the Star Killer. It was an early representation from an early draft and done by the great late Ralph McQuarrie, who is so much responsible for the look of Star Wars and remains responsible for a lot of the things. He had so much art over the years.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because this collection isn't mobile. I mean, there's some things here that I would never want to move. I wouldn't even want to take out of their boxes. And yet you show up with Rancho Obi-Wan to Comic-Con. You were in Comic-Con Silicon Valley. How do you do that? How do you travel?
Yeah, well, we really carefully figure out what we want to bring. We've even been to Star Wars Celebration events in Orlando, Anaheim, and in Essen, Germany. And so it's a matter of very carefully selecting and curating the exhibit and then deciding how we pack it and bring it along. We have some pieces now down in Dallas at a 5-month show called Eye of the Collector at the Dallas Perot Museum of Nature and Science. So you never know. You never know.
Oh, this is the first thing that people will see as they come into the main area. A beautiful. Is this every figurine from the series?
It is the first 112 carded figures from 1978 through 1986.
Which includes, by the way, Prune Face, which is
one
an
of
actual...
your favorites?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorites. It does exist. It is real. People, when they hear Prune Face, they think, no, that's got to be a joke.
Well, some of the names are really funny. I mean, they come up with names in all kinds of different ways. For example, one of the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back, Forlom, named by ILM, stands for the love of money. You never know. You never know.
Speaking of for the love of money, my producer asked me what piece would I take, and this was it. This is a
You
gorgeous,
select well,
gorgeous.
my Padawan.
Tell me about this.
Well, part of this was actually screen used. So the leather undersuit, the codpiece, which still has the costumer's tag, and the woolen undercape were all screen used in the original Star Wars movie. The mask and the helmet were made around the time of Empire, but were modified, and they were screen used in Return of the Jedi. The rest of the costume, except for the gloves, the lightsaber, they didn't use a neon lightsaber, I'm sorry, and the boots, the rest of the costume was all made in Marin County by Industrial Light and Magic or in England as an appearance costume, and so they hired somebody to go around for only important events.
If you see 1,000 people come through here in a month, what is generally their reaction, as especially that door right there? Because as they walk through that door, suddenly they're greeted with the entirety of the collection. What do you see as you open up the glass
This is my
doors?
big payoff. This is my payoff. They're looking in here, I'm looking at them, and I see the faces, and I see everything from to and sometimes tears.
Yeah.
And so it's seeing how people react to the collection. Even people who are not hardcore collectors, just seeing all of this together, helping them relive memories, or their significant other, their wife, their husband. Sometimes I'm a relationship counselor. I hear, honey, as long as you don't get this crazy, I guess it'll be okay.
I think that's the allure of Star Wars, that it is so intergenerational. You could talk to a 60-year-old man, you could talk to a 6-year-old boy who has just seen The Force Awakens, and there's always something there, something magical.
Well, it's amazing. We're now into 3 generations of Star Wars fans. We're going to be into 4 before you know it. And it's that certain tug and certain pull that you get from none of the other franchises. It's that relationship. It's that huge sandbox that George Lucas originally created, and Lucasfilm letting people play in it. From fan fiction onto fan films, onto art, and making individual objects for Star Wars. And that is the secret to the success and long-lasting success of Star Wars.
Steve, thank you so very
My
much for speaking
pleasure.
with us. Thank you for sharing your bounty here. Now, if they wanted to come to Rancho Obi-Wan, where should they go?
We do 2 tours a week here, and you can get to ranchoobiwan.org. It explains all about the tours, becoming a member, donating. So we give tours to school groups, we give tours to other charities for them to auction off, for them to raise money. So we really are a nonprofit and a public service organization, and have fun doing it.
Steve Sansweet, the CEO of Rancho Obi-Wan. Now back to the studio with Leo Laporte. And The Screensavers is a podcast you will subscribe to.
Thank you, Father Robert. I thought I'd show you. This looks like a kindergartner did it, doesn't it? But this is actually the studio design. The truth is we didn't really need as much of a studio design. We still have that wonderful Roger Ambrose design, and we're just repurposing a lot of it. So this is the wall behind us right now. There's the front, the doors in that you saw, the red doors. This is going to be a green screen area, something we've not had before in our studio, which is exciting. A bookshelf. That's the porthole. Some of the pieces from the old studio, like these lamps and these wall pieces, will be coming along over here. And of course, that's where the iOS Today set will be. We call it the living room set. This is the wall we were just talking about. Radio corner. Is that right? Yeah. Radio corner is over here. You see, we're bringing bricks back. We want bricks. Also, our incandescent lights and sconces, that kind of old-fashioned thing. That's what this hole in the wall is covering up. Bricks will be going on these, and we'll use some of the pieces from the old studio here as well. This should look very cool. You can see the metal that we had before. It's going to feel pretty much like the old studio, except like somebody cleaned it up, which I think is probably long overdue. All right, we're going to head over to something more interesting here, which is the server room in just a second. But before we do that, I want to tell you how we'll know you're arriving at the Brick House. It's right over here. It's well, we don't have it installed yet. The Ring Video Doorbell. I love our Ring Video Doorbell. We should have one everywhere. You know, right out here in the bathrooms, that would probably be good too. The Ring Video Doorbell is so cool. It's a doorbell that replaces your existing doorbell. You can even put it in places where there isn't a doorbell, because the original Ring has a year-long battery that you can charge up after a year and continue to use. But what's unique about the Ring is it's attached to your Wi-Fi. That means when your doorbell rings at your home, it rings your phone anywhere in the world. That is awesome. Not only can you see who's at your door, because it's got a beautiful high-def wide-angle camera on it, you can also hear them and talk to them, because it's got a microphone and speaker. This means you can be at home even when you're not. It's great for protecting against burglaries. Bad guy comes to your door. I wonder if they're home right now. Rings the doorbell. You go, yeah, I'm here. What do you want? He runs for the hills. And if he doesn't, well, you got crystal clear video you can share with the law enforcement folks. We actually have heard of many people who've had great success not only protecting their home, but getting bad guys arrested because they've got the video from the Ring video doorbell. I don't use it for that as much because, I just like the idea that when the UPS or FedEx guy comes, I can say, hey, yeah, leave it out there. Russell, our IT guy, does the same thing in his office. He's never there. He's a contract IT guy. He's on the road all the time. But those packages are important. When the FedEx guy comes, he says, yeah, here's the code for the keypad to my door, gives it to him. He opens the door and then puts the package inside, closes it. I mean, that really is awesome. The Ring video doorbell. I want you to check it out. We've got a very special deal for you. A Ring of Security bundle that includes either the Ring or the new Ring Pro, which doesn't have a battery, but does have a 1080p camera. You could use that wherever you use a wired doorbell. But there's more. You also get the Ring stick-up cam you can put anywhere. That's really cool because it means you have the same kind of capabilities behind the house. You have a camera, microphone, and speaker, so you can say, hey, deer, get out of my rose bushes, or whatever. I love it. And that stick-up cam doesn't need wires because it comes with a solar panel that can keep it powered day and night forever. You also get the Ring chime, plugs into any outlet, anywhere in your house or your shed or anywhere, so you can get that when the doorbell rings, you can hear it, even if you're nowhere near the front door. This is just such a great deal. We've got a bunch of these bundle kits. I want you to check it out at ring.com/NSS. You get $50 off your favorite bundle kit. Ring.com/NSS. It's like caller ID for your house. I love my Ring. And I think we're probably going to have a few rings around here. I have a feeling this would be a great place to put it. Ding dong. All right. We are outside the studio. Look, we've even got an on-air light. How pro can that be? That's going to go on, I guess, when the microphone's on or something like that. My office is down here, more offices. Our kitchen. Bathrooms are out this door. That's always fun. I like putting the bathrooms outside a self-locking door because it's so much fun when you're in the middle of a show and you run outside to go to the bathroom and you can't get back in. It just reminds me of my days in radio. I'm sure we'll figure out a way around that. This is where John, our studio manager, is going to have a cubby here. And I'll show you the server room. This is pretty amazing. Actually, before I bring you in here, I've got to get you to sign an NDA. And if there's anybody under 18, get your parents to sign for you, okay? Because we can't show you any of this stuff. In fact, while you're signing that NDA, let's get a review of the Mophie Juice Pack. Jason Howell's got a review for you. Sign that piece of paper now.
Hey everyone, what's up? I'm Jason Howell, and I am here not with a phone. Well, I am here with a phone, but I'm here more because of the case that's on the phone. See this? This is a battery case. It is the Mophie Juice Pack Galaxy S7 edition. They make the Juice Pack for all different models of phones. I got one for the Galaxy S7. This is not the Edge model, so this is just the plain S7. And as you can see, it makes the phone a little bit thicker. This is definitely a thick case. That's because underneath here is a battery. This is a nice hard shell case. Rounded to kind of give you the illusion of it being a little bit slimmer, but hey, you got to fit a battery in there somehow, and this is charging the phone underneath. So it is a little bulky. The added bulk does interfere in some ways with some of the ways that you use the phone. For example, that headphone jack, if you're going to plug a headphone in there, they provide this little adapter so that you can slide it in there and get to the headphone jack. I couldn't fit my normal headphones in there without the adapter, so keep that in mind. As far as day-to-day use is concerned. Soft touch on the back feels kind of nice, but you can see it. It's a fingerprint attractor, fingerprint magnet, so it gets a little marked up. And how you work this, it's two components that essentially fit together. I'll go ahead and take it off. It's this top layer that goes on top, and then I'll pull the phone out here. And this is the actual case underneath. You can see it's the micro USB plug right there. That's where the phone kind of slides into the case right there like that. And that'll allow it to pass the charge through. And this is the case itself that attaches onto the back. So once you've got it all working together, it fits in kind of snugly, and then go ahead and snap it together, and it's all together. The battery underneath, that's why you've got this. It's a 2950 milliamp hour battery, which the battery of the phone itself is 3000 milliamp hours. So you're only 50 milliamp hours shy of doubling the battery capacity. Now, that doesn't mean that you double your battery, essentially. It transfers its charge, at least the capacity of the battery's charge, in about an hour and a half, but that's not a full charge, and that's due to line loss in the process. So what you end up with is about 60% of added charge to your phone. And I'll show you something pretty interesting here. I've been using this phone all day, fully charged with a fully charged juice pack today, and take a look at my battery. It's still sitting at 100%. So that's great. You can charge it with or without the phone plugged in or in the case. So I could take the phone out and just plug the case itself. If the phone's in there and I'm charging, it's going to charge the phone before it then charges the battery. But one downside is that this phone is capable of fast charge. And if it's going through this port, it cancels out the fast charge, so you're not going to get that. So keep that in mind. The juice pack itself can charge wirelessly. So if you have a Qi charger, you can set it on and it'll charge that for you as well. And then you got on the back here this little button. If I tap that once, it shows me 2 LEDs. Each LED represents 25% charge of the pack. So I'm sitting at around 50% capacity still left to transfer through to my phone, and that's pretty great. So I think overall, I've been using this now for about a week, and it's great for an emergency stash for battery power, having it fully charged up and ready when you're on the go. Maybe not the best option for everyday use, only because the case is pretty bulky. That might mess with some of your accessories, things like headphones or stereos that you might plug it into. It removes fast charge. And Samsung has their own wireless charging battery pack. It costs $90, and that actually transfers the charge wirelessly instead of this micro USB solution that we have here, but it's also less capacity. So the cost on this, the Mophie Juice Pack for the Galaxy S7 is $100. A little bit more than Samsung's offering. But I think it's a pretty good solution as an emergency stash. Maybe $100 is a little steep, but I think it's a pretty elegant solution anyways. And you should definitely check it out either for the S7 or for the many other models that they sell. You can catch all my work on, I do Tech News Today with Megan Maroney. I do all about Android, all sorts of Android goodness on the network. Just search the Twit site. You know where it is. And thanks so much for watching my review of the Mophie Juice Pack for the Galaxy S7.
All right, you signed your NDA. Can't reveal any of this to any competitors. He's wiring from Beck. Look at this. This is really the heart of the operation. Remember I said that we had to put this stuff in the basement. See, it's already noisy. It's not even all fully powered up in the old place, and then have holes. Well, now we've just put the wires up over the ceiling. The studio's on the other side here, and that's why we have that raised floor. They go down and underneath the floor and go to where we need it. In fact, you can see a bundle right here. I don't know what that hum is. It sounds ominous. There's a lot of power has to come into a place like this, and I think we've upgraded the power a couple of times. In fact, I believe we've got a new transformer. That's going to be important because we need that for the air conditioning. But this is the bundle, as you can see, that's going to go to the TD desk. So the red stuff is video, the blue stuff is blue, and the black stuff is Ethernet. I don't know what the blue. I don't know what the difference is, but you see, there is a reason. There's a method to Russell's madness, and that's a lot of cable. I think $30,000 of cabling going up and around all of this place. That's actually the biggest part of the infrastructure, is the servers and the cabling. All the servers will be in here. This building used to be Broadcom, and this actually used to be their server room. We didn't keep any of their server racks, though. It turned out they weren't going to work very well for what we need, but some of the ladder is still here, and this is really great for running. Look at that. Look at that. I don't know where that's going, but it's got to be pretty important. I think that's Santa's workshop upstairs. I'm not sure, though. All right, let me show you one more thing, then we're going to get back to the brick house because we're almost out of time, and we've got more work to do because we're going to be moving in here tomorrow and doing our first show from here at the Twit Roundtable tomorrow. I don't know how that's going to happen. Here's my office, and this is going to look exactly like the old place. In fact, in many ways, this is going to be identical to the old office. My office is the last thing to be moved out of the brick house. They're not going to move that till Monday, so I won't be working in my office for a week or so while they wire it all up. But the backdrop that you're used to, that'll still be there. My desk will be here. It's going to be exactly the same. It'll look exactly the same. They're already starting to put up the the rigging for the lights. The only difference from my point of view is I finally get windows to the outside world. It's ironic, isn't it? I don't have windows in the studio anymore, but at least I can look out the windows every once in a while. For now, I guess this is a storage room. This is where all the lights and everything are going to go that are going to be for my studio. It takes a lot of work to get this stuff working. All right, Anthony, come with me. We're going to go back to the Brick House studio and wrap this thing up. I just think it's pretty exciting what's happening here. I'm really grateful to my wife, Lisa Laporte, who really kind of shepherded this project from beginning to end, to all of the staff that's worked so hard packing up all the old stuff and moving it over. Of course, to the great construction team from Credence. They built our original studio, and we called them in at the last minute and said, we need help finishing the old one. They certainly know how it works. And thanks to all of you for putting up with our dust. The new Eastside Studio. It's almost ready. We'll see you here tomorrow. Now let's head back over to the Brick House. Anybody here? Wow. There's not much left. They're moving the rest of it. I guess the movers come on Monday, too, to get the last few pieces. I'm glad they left my mail sorting desk, though, because this is a perfect place to do the last mail bag all by myself from the Brick House studio. And here it is. Can we leave this here? No. Oh, my. Here's a brick. And this is what we did when we had to take the bricks off the drywall. Burke was doing all sorts of experiments. A little bit of drywall came along, but we'll clean it off. Jeez. What else is in here? Thanks to Leo, McRae. These are all going to come with us. Don't worry, we're going to put them all up in the... And this is really important. Wait a minute, am I supposed to take this out? No. The fog machine. Now you know how it smoked. All right, time for the mail. Oh. All right, here we go. The first email comes from Cynthia. Hi, Leo. I accidentally left my S5, I guess Galaxy S5, not Audi S5, on the back of my car and drove off. Oh, ow. I found it. It is dead. Won't turn on. Stupid, number one, leaving on back of car. Stupid, number two, I didn't back up my data. Any idea how I can get the data off the S5? There are companies, believe it or not, that will recover data from the memory chips on broken phones. One of the companies we talk about all the time, just because they're down the road a piece, Drive Savers in Novato, they do that. If you go to drivesavers.com, there may be one near you as well. You also might try, it's always good, I always believe in making friends with the phone store, the cell phone store, not the one owned by the company, not the Verizon or T-Mobile cell store, but the independent cell store that sells a variety of other carriers or all the carriers at the same time. And the reason is those are often run by people who really know cell phones. They've been doing it for a long time, and they often have the kind of gear you would need to get the data off of here. Assuming that the storage chip wasn't damaged, you probably can get the data off of it. So maybe go to find somebody smart at an independent cell store in your neighborhood, or call the folks at Drive Savers and see what they can do. As long as that chip's okay, there is hope. But it's going to be expensive, and this is one of the reasons why you want to back up before this stuff happens, not after. It's much more expensive after the fact. Here's another one from Will in SoCal. Hello, Leo. He's doing something a lot of people are doing. I've had Yahoo Mail for years now. Do you think now is a good time to start moving my stuff from Yahoo Mail? Yeah, I think you mentioned that Yahoo is phasing out many of its services, his mail included. Yahoo did get sold. Verizon owns it now. It seems very unlikely, by the way, that Verizon will kill Yahoo Mail. In fact, for a while, Verizon used Yahoo Mail for their internet customers. I think they're going to keep it going. In fact, it may be a rebirth of Yahoo Mail. For all we know, Verizon's going to put some money into it and make it better than it was. It's not been very good for some time. He says it works well for him. I've had very little problems over the years. Also, it keeps that spam at bay pretty good. Do you recommend to start pulling mail away from Yahoo? What do you think? Will in SoCal. If you like Yahoo Mail and you're happy, I don't see any reason to leave. I don't see any reason to think Verizon's going to kill the service. But I'm not a huge fan of Yahoo Mail. It does seem to be most often hacked, whether that's because there are more users who aren't sophisticated using it. I mean, they do have second factor. I would turn that on. Secure it as best you can. Personally, I prefer Google's mail solution. Very similar to Yahoo Mail, predated Yahoo Mail. They kind of invented the whole idea of webmail. And Google makes it very easy to get your mail from Yahoo Mail. In fact, you can keep your Yahoo Mail account, create a free Google Mail account, set up the Google Mail to get mail from Yahoo. So you don't have to change your address, or you can if you want, tell your friends, but if they forget and still send stuff to Yahoo, you'll still get it. That's kind of the best of both worlds. You'll keep your Yahoo Mail, keep your Yahoo Mail account, but not a bad idea to have a Google Mail account and get everything over there from the Yahoo Mail. That way, if it does get shut down, you at least still have access to all your stuff. Hey, thanks for watching, Will. Thanks to all of you for watching. We've been more than a year doing the new screensavers in the Brick House studio, more than 5 years in the Brick House. We started July 24th, 2011. It's been a great 5 years here. We have one more show tomorrow, the Tech Guy show, and then we're going to pack up our stuff. We're going to get on the trolley, and we're going to drive on over to the East Side for our first show, which will be, of course, Sunday, August 21st, the Twit Roundtable show from the new Eastside Studios. It's going to be a little sad, a little bittersweet leaving here. I really love it. And yes, the mail desk is coming with us. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time in the new studio on the new Screensavers. Bye-bye.